Chapter 3. 3 Dead Men. October 1878. 4 policemen ride north from the town of Mansfield. Kennedy, McIntyre, Lonergan and Scanlon are on their way to Stringy Bark Creek in the Wombat Hills. They plan to camp there for a week, look for the Kelly gang, and bring them back to Mansfield, dead or alive. Very early one morning, Ned and Dan left Bullock Creek. Joe and Steve waited at the hut. "Walk quietly, Dan," said Ned, "and listen. I saw horses' tracks near here yesterday, and I think the police are after us." The police camp at Stringy Bark Creek was only 2 kilometres away, and the brothers soon found it. They hid behind the trees and watched. They saw the 4 policemen and their guns, 2 big heavy guns and 4 smaller guns. Later, back at Bullock Creek, Joe and Steve listened to the news about the guns. "We've only got 2 guns. What can we do?" said Joe. "They want to kill us," said Dan. "They're going to shoot to kill. Isn't that right, Ned?" "Yes, that's right," said Ned. "So we can stay here and wait for them, or we can go down there and take their guns and horses. What do you say?" It was an easy answer. The Kelly gang got ready, left Bullock Creek, and went quietly through the trees. When they arrived at the police camp, only Lonergan and McIntyre were there. Lonergan sat on a tree, reading a newspaper, and McIntyre watched the campfire. Then, from behind a tree, Ned Kelly called out, "Put your hands up!" McIntyre had no gun, so he sat still and put his hands up. But Lonergan ran. Then he got down behind a fallen tree, took out his gun, and put his head up. He was a fool. A bullet from Ned's gun hit him in the head, and he died at once. Ned ran to McIntyre. "Don't move," he said. "We don't want to kill you. We just want the guns and horses." But before the gang could find the guns and leave, they heard a noise in the trees. "Ned," called Steve, "the other 2 policemen are coming back." "Sit on this tree," Ned said to McIntyre. "And when you see your friends, call out to them. Say, 'Don't shoot. Put your guns on the ground.' We don't want to kill them, or you." Seconds later, Kennedy and Scanlon rode into the camp. McIntyre stood up and said, "Get off your horses and put your hands up. There are men with guns here." "Oh, yes," said Kennedy. He laughed at McIntyre. "What men? What guns?" At once, the Kelly gang came out of the trees, and Ned called, "Put your hands up!" Everything happened very quickly. A bullet from Ned's gun hit Scanlon, and he fell from his horse. Kennedy jumped off his horse and fired at Dan. Dan fired back, and Kennedy ran back into the trees. McIntyre could not shoot because he did not have his gun with him. But there, in front of him, was Kennedy's horse. He jumped on it and rode into the trees. Kennedy tried to get away too. He went quietly through the trees, but suddenly he saw Ned in front of him. The two men fired, and Kennedy fell down. Soon he was dead. "He was a brave man, but it was him or me," said Ned. "I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to kill any of them." The gang put coats over the 3 dead bodies, took the horses, guns and food, and rode away. "They came to kill us, boys," said Ned, "but we killed them. What could we do? Now we must go, and we're not coming back." The Kelly gang rode away to the north. The next day, tired and dirty, McIntyre arrived back in Mansfield. Soon every town and village and farm in the northeast knew about the killing of the 3 policemen at Stringybark Creek. "The Kelly gang are killers," said the police. "These men are now outlaws, and we must catch them, dead or alive. When you see them, tell us. We're giving £500 reward for news of every man in the gang, £2,000 for all 4 of them." It was a lot of money. More policemen came to the northeast with more guns, more horses. Ned and the gang stayed in the northeast. They tried to get away to the north, but there was a lot of water in the Murray River, and they couldn't get across it. They got help from their friends and moved from place to place all the time. One week they rode more than 300 kilometres. 30 policemen rode through the hills for a month and looked for the outlaws night and day, but they never found them. And in December, Ned and the gang moved on to the Warby Hills. It was a hard, wild life, and the outlaws were tired, hungry, and angry men.